This is not a Tex-Mex taco. This is a South Texan taquito, my childhood. I grew up eating these tacos. They're on every street corner. They're also across the border in Mexico. I grew up walking across the border just to eat these, and I want to go over the South Texan taquito. And in this video, you're going to learn how to make your very own South Texan taquito and why they're always better at taquerias. This was my childhood. Yes, you heard that right. So we're gonna go over why the taquito is better at taquerias. What do they do? Because it looks so simple, right? It looks just like a normal tortilla with very simple ingredients. But why is it that when people, home cooks, make them at home, they just seem so bland and boring? I'm gonna show you here today these little steps that they take to make it a real taquero style taco. And it's a lot simpler than you think. It's all about preparation here. Okay, now I'm here in the meat aisle just to show you the type of cut that is mainly used for the beef steak. And you're gonna be surprised, it's actually a fairly cheap cut. So what I'm looking at is the beef chuck roast. And what we wanna do is get it sliced very thin. Hey, how's it going? Just had a question for you on this. If I did want this sliced thin, y'all are able to do that? Not hella thin, just like, you know, like thin steaks, kind of. Like this, just for like carne asada, kind of.
I can get it maybe that thin.
Oh, you guys already have that. Oh wait, that's ribeye though.
Ribeye.
Got it. Okay, so I just asked him to let you guys know. You can ask your butcher if they can slice it for you. They will totally do it if they have the deli slicer, which every butcher has. So just be nice, get to know your butcher at the local store and be like, hey, can you slice this into like steaks for me, like carne asada style? And they'll pretty much know what that means and they could totally do it. So usually in these giant cheese sections is where you can find the Mexican cheeses. Like we got our queso Oaxacas, a lot of people ask me about that. For this one, I'm going to want queso fresco or cotija. Okay, now these are not extravagant by any means. I'm using chuck. We have a filling called beef steak. And what beef steak means, it just translates to beef steak. It's usually chuck that is sliced thin, sort of like carne asada style. So you could just take a good roast like this and slice it if they don't have it already sliced at your store. If you'd like, you could use a nicer cut, like a skirt steak or a flank steak, but this to me is the move. You don't need to fuck with this. This is what you need for this taco. Now, why does it need to be thin cut? Why can't I just get ground beef? It's gonna be all about the texture here. When you walk into a taqueria, you're always gonna hear, I don't wanna do this with my knife because I don't wanna mess up my knife, but you will hear like just loud chopping all the time because they're always chopping up that beef steak for the taquitos. Now, that's just a thing I'm gonna say. It's probably mostly about the texture, because we're also going to be able to get a beautiful sear here. So that's basically it on the meat. But let's talk about seasoning here. We're gonna keep it very simple. There's no marinades going on, just salt and pepper. We're keeping these very simple. That's the beauty of these tacos, is everything in there is just not touched. It's all just very fresh and very pure. Now, the name of the game here is high heat. So I've got my plancha here. It's pretty high and I need high heat so I could get a good sear. Mainly, it's all about the sear here. So why do I know so much about these tacos? Back home, where I come from, the Rio Grande Valley, Brownsville, Texas, it used to be part of Mexico. And this part of Mexico is called Matamoros, Tamaulipas. It's actually the other half of Matamoros, Brownsville. And we have a very distinct style of taco. I don't even know what to call the taco, so I had to Google it because we just refer to them as tacos back home. And anyways, let me just give you some of my memories from this. As a kid, you know, we always had our favorite go-to taquerias, but I especially loved the taquerias across the border. We would walk across the border or just drive like at least once or twice a week. And there was this taqueria called Gonzalez. You could smell the tortillas being warmed up from a block away. It was fucking amazing. So it was a place that was like not as much bigger than my living room. It was basically like the size of my living room. And it was seating all around the center. And in the center was two women, one that had like a wok-like giant pan that was heated up and it had a lot of fat, like a lot of oil in there. She was dipping the tortillas in there. Another woman next to her would be building the taquitos. And it was such an intimate thing now that I look back at it. I might have, taken it for granted, but now that I look back, it's just such an intimate thing that it was, being in what was basically like their home. Like even the salsa, they would keep the salsa in, what do you call them? So water bottles, like old plastic water bottles with the screw tops where like they had a hole poked in them. That was like the salsa squeeze bottle. That is one of my favorite taqueria memories, and that was my regular as a kid. Another favorite of mine is called El Último Taco. They're still open till this day. They are 24 hours open actually. So you could go there after the bars. That's usually the go-to. And they go with the name Último Taco because the saying is one last taco, el último, because you just want one more bite because it's so delicious. These are so freaking decadent. I could finish these tacos in like 1 to 2 bites. So that's why it's very standard for people to order, 10, 12 taquitos. It's not like your standard Mexican restaurant up here where you get 3 tacos for like 20 bucks. Steer clear of those places. The places that use these things right here, I'm gonna run away from them. I'm not ordering tacos from there. But where I come from, it's just on a plate, no fuss, everything thrown on there, side of caramelized onions. It's home, it's home. So anyways, this is the meat, chopping it up really nice and fine. As you can see, like I'm just even doing some passovers with my cleaver here. As fine as you can get it. And this is why I'm saying the sear is important, because if you see here, we've got all these different textures going on. We have some hard seared pieces of meat, and since it's as thin as it could be, it's gonna be pretty much all texture here. This is beefsteak. Have you ever noticed that onions have these like guiding lines along them? So it's really easy just to cut along those lines. Beyond the point, what I'm doing here is I'm chopping a good amount of onions. This is honestly enough for me because I love them. It's for the caramelized onions. And every single plate of Rio Grande Valley style tacos will have a side of caramelized onions. Now, my way of doing it ever since I was a kid, I would wait till I'm done with my tacos and then I would squeeze a shit ton of lime all over my caramelized onions, sprinkle a good amount of salt, and I would just eat them on their own. It was just so good to me, and I still love to do it like that. You can put them in the tacos too. Delicious that way as well. I don't know why they're served with the tacos. All I know is that's how it's always been. That's how it's always gonna be for me, and I'm just showing you the way it is. Now, while I do not know why the onions are served with the taquitos, I looked it up. Thanks ChatGPT, thanks Google. It has to do with the region. It's North Mexico. They say norteño style, and it's also ranchero style. There's a lot of ranches in North Mexico, South Texas area. So it's more of that ranch influence of always having onions on the grill, and there's also guisado style where they always have onions simmering with the meat. So that could be why that they serve it with the taquitos. And it's a tradition that has just been there since I guess the beginning of these tacos. I don't know, but all I know is it's a really good pairing. I've even put it inside of the taquitos before. I can't even talk right now. And it's really good. And a lot of the people down south, like my aunt included, my uncles included, they would finish these with a nice cold beer once you've already caramelized them. And yeah, this is alcohol free because I am almost 1 year sober. Wow, yeah, this month it's gonna be 1 year. Cheers to that. Here's one of the top salsas you're gonna find at the taquerias, salsa taquera. This is my top because it's just very fresh. Serrano, jalapeno, I did some scallions, cilantro, a good heaping amount of extra virgin olive oil, and a good amount of fresh squeezed lime juice, blended in with some salt. My Aunt Jackie also does a bouillon cube. If you'd like, you could do like a Nor bouillon cube. You could do some spices, but this is how I like it, just nice, straight up, fresh salsa taquera verde. This is my go-to. There's also the orange kind that's made with habanero, but this is my favorite flavor. Okay, here's something I feel really strongly about, and it's tortillas. Tortillas. Fresh ones have their time and place, right? You want packaged ones for this, mainly because you want to heat them up in oil. They're meant to be heated up in oil. Back home, tortillas are so important that we have places called tortillerias. And at the tortillerias, it's basically like a place that you can only go through the drive-thru. They have a drive-thru, and that's where you pick up your pack of tortillas. And everyone has their favorite tortilleria. Mine was El Capistran back home. And anyways, it's so ingrained in the community to have tortillas with everything that even like when people go on a diet, like my family, for example, when they go on a diet, they're like, oh, I'm switching from harina to maíz, from flour to corn. Or if you go to like Walmart, or you go to Target, you go to the convenience store, anywhere, there's always an ice chest that has tortillas in the packages warm from these tortillerias. Of course, I'm in Seattle, so we don't have tortillerias, so I just get the next best thing, which is this, what is this? Mission Street Taco. It's fine. But yeah, I love fresh tortillas, but there's a time and place for that. And for these, you want to get the ones that are already like made, and you heat them up in some oil. You don't want to toast them though. You just want to heat them through. And these are meant to be very greasy, okay? Like it's just really what they call like suavecito, soft, like a soft, greasy tortilla. It's just beautiful. You're gonna see right now what I mean. You're gonna see, they're velvety, soft. Okay, now I hope you see what I mean here. See how it's soft, it's not toasted, it's just heated up the way through, and it's got a lot of oil. This is one of the main reasons why I think these are so freaking good. I'm using beef tallow, by the way, because I like to use a good fat for these. There it is, my childhood right there, everybody. Why don't I make these more often?